you guys. We're in a different spot here. We were in Michigan. We were with Mr. Ryan Linger himself.
Yep.
How's it going?
Good.
You have a monopoly out here.
A little bit.
Yeah.
We've been doing it a long time.
Building pre-runners for these guys out in Michigan. Is there a bug in my... Man. There's not that many bugs, but I felt like there was a bug in there. Ryan's he's been the guy out here to take care of these things, and I guess to take care of them properly.
Yeah, properly. And build them tough, build them so they can last.
Yep.
Silver Lake's hard on trucks. It's like a racetrack. People get to know the 400 acres, and they just go a little bit faster. Their buddies with them.
Yep.
I'll beat you this time, you beat me next time. So they really pound these trucks hard. As where when you're out like west, it's a little bit more like you're running from point A to point B. You don't know every bump, and they take it a little easier on the trucks. Like Frank Taylor's a prime example.
Yeah.
He'd tear through a ring gear every weekend here
when
he first had the truck. And then he'd take it out west for the winter, and the ring gear lasts all winter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of just it's almost these guys are in a sprint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a sprint,
and not a marathon.
Endurance.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we have here is we have Ryan Lister's truck, right?
Yep, Ryan Lister and Ryan Linger.
Yep, the Ryans are here. We're gonna walk through this thing. There's a huge story with this truck. A lot of people call it the Rust Lab truck. It's kind of turned into the Rust Bucket truck.
We just call it the Rust Bucket.
Yeah, that was what I was not corrected on, but that was the coin I was hearing. So let's shoot this thing. Originally, Kyle with Rust Lab, I think he's out of Texas.
Texas, yep.
Built this, and it was his personal truck. Obviously, like it had patina on it, and I think the fenders, I don't remember what the treatment was on the fenders.
Fenders metal.
They're
all
metal.
handcrafted big.
There we go.
Sheet metal.
Kyle built this thing. Obviously, it's a 07.
It's 10.
10? Okay.
I think it's a 10.
Same style body as an 07?
Yep,
Yeah.
7 to 13.
What do they call those things?
GMT 900.
There we go. Yeah. I don't know these things. Like I see the GMT stuff, but I don't.
That's the lingo.
Yeah. For the hardcore diehard guys, they're like, you don't know that? You should know that. Get it right. But this thing has seen a couple different hands, and I think it's really only gotten better, right? It was originally leaf spring, right? Started leaf spring?
Maybe.
Okay.
When Kyle had it, they did a short course.
There we go. Yeah.
It was short course when I think it left his hands. It had the LSK kit on the front, and then it went to, I think Dirty Cam bought it after that.
Yep.
And that's where Ryan picked it up from Dirty Cam.
And now that's a Missoula kit on the front?
Nope. The lower arms we redid after the long jump 2 years ago.
Okay.
So those are 3/16 chrome moly, TIG welded and heat treated.
Your design?
This LSK's design.
Oh, okay.
So it was originally LSK kit, and we pounded the kit hard. I mean, just abused it.
Yeah.
And so then we just duplicated their lower A arm out of 4130. The guys are super helpful. It's like we're running this through the paces that it's not supposed to be through.
Totally.
18. They don't know me, son. Get it. 19. They don't know me, son. Yeah.
We did those. He ran it another season, and then the middle of last summer we were gonna J-arm it. So the upper arm is a Gen 1 Izzy.
Okay, that's why it's confusing.
Yeah, it's a Gen 1 Izzy arm that he had on the shelf, and we just, I don't know, through conversation, like, well, we'll try it.
Sure.
Because as you can notice, the bypass is blue. Marigold's done everything else.
Yeah.
Last October we ordered the 4.0s.
Yeah.
With the 4.5 finned reservoir for it, so that's why the J-arm's on it, so we could put a big shock package.
So you're just playing the waiting game right now?
Yep.
Okay.
Next week, hopefully.
Yeah, and I think a lot of you guys probably know what the waiting game is with not just King, but Fox too.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah,
everybody's
absolutely.
busy. You know, we got in a conversation with Brett, and he said, why do you need a 4.0 shock on this thing? And you try and explain, well, it's a LSK lower arm with a Izzy Fab upper and a spindle we built, and yeah.
Bottom line is with this, and that's totally the right call, is like these full-size trucks, the bigger the shock, the better. There's not like a rational way to excuse yourself out of a bigger shock. It works better, and it's not just for longevity and fade, but just for dampening, period.
Period, and you get a bigger range. Each time this shock goes up a half inch, your available range gets bigger and what it can do.
There you go.
You can go to zero dampening, and you can go to a bigger percent each shock. So it allows the shock tuner to have a better control, more options on how to keep the tires on the ground.
Absolutely. So LSK kit, it kind of stumped me because of the welding and stuff on there is different. Usually you'd see like a MIG welded kit, you know, from LSK, and it's got the pocket and stuff. So like that's why it almost looks like a Missoula lower, just because it's dynamic looking. You know, it's pretty.
That's just their design. We got them to cut it out of 3/16 chromoly.
Yeah.
And then Martin TIG welded it.
Yeah.
And then all the 4130 stuff we do, we weld it with a 4130 filler rod, and then we send it off to heat treat.
Oh wow.
It's so cheap for the amount of strength you get.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. Not a lot of people do that, especially not on pre-runner stuff.
Yeah,
you know,
like we got a heat treater in town that we work with. We got a pretty good spec. We go with them because when we heat treat the rear ends, we do in 5 pieces before we finish weld them, and it's awesome having a guy like Martin on the team who just has a passion for welding.
I did not know you heat treat stuff like that. That's a huge deal. That's full race car stuff, and the longevity you get is insane.
We did a similar thing on Frank Taylor's truck, and we didn't heat treat them. And you know, half a decade later, you can start, if you know exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah.
You can see they're starting to move a little bit.
Sure.
And we've had tons of hard hits in Mexico, and as you can see at Dirt Fest, he was jumping it like a madman.
Yep.
And but I mean, in the whole cost of the material, the labor, the heat treat's a few $100.
Yeah.
It's totally worth it.
Totally.
It takes 4 days, 5 days.
So when you got this from Cameron Page, right? That's Dirty Cam.
Yep.
He had that. So he's Matco Tools, 1904.
Yep.
He's got Izzy's building him the crew cab.
Yep.
And he had this for a brief amount of time.
Yeah.
Ryan Lister picks it up
sometime maybe October of 19.
Okay. And then what's the first, like, how does that go?
So it goes, he gets my number from Tyson.
Yeah.
He calls, wants to go through a build. That's too much money. I'm going to do it myself. TE Designs has a kit.
Yeah.
So he buys the cage kit, the back half, and puts it together over a winter. There's like a handful of problems and issues and all the stuff you just run into building these things.
Totally.
They're not your 69 Camaro where you can just bolt stuff together.
Yeah.
He bought a rear end from TE, links from TE, does it, and then we helped him finish like the more difficult parts, like setting the hubs and the bearing spacers inside and
Sure. All the little
some
details.
finishing moves. And he came over. It was before Dirt Fest in 2020. He needed a drive shaft. We got a great drive shaft shop in town that we work with, and they'll just do what I ask them because we got a relationship.
Yeah.
And so he came to get a drive shaft made, and then next thing you know, we're working late into the night getting bump stops on it. And it had a runnability issue for like the first 2 trips.
What does a runnability mean?
It just doesn't drive right.
Okay.
The throttle's not working, going into reduced power.
Yeah.
Because these trucks have a lot of electronics on them.
Yeah.
The long story short is this intake tube was just jammed too far in the coupler,
Jeez.
and it would the electronic throttle blade would bump the tube.
Oh, that's jammed really far.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone had to work for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
you take it off and drive it around and think it's good, and then put the air filter back on, and then he'd take off and get up here and it wouldn't work.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's a small, easy nightmare.
Yeah.
So this whole back half, is that TE?
It's TE.
It's like a hybrid.
Yeah.
And now is this all stuff you guys have added on here?
Ryan put the TE back half on with originally it had the fuel cell that Kyle from Russ Lab put in it.
Yeah.
So one of the earlier modifications, we did bump stops. He used to have 60-inch links on this last year.
Yep.
So the bumps were back here. The wheelbase was long. And Marigold's always trying to get him to get more rear weight.
That's Marigold's.
Yeah.
He's the rear weight master.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it helps.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
So over the winter, he did a set of 55s, moved it forward. We reworked the bumps.
So stuff, I mean, I keep noticing really nice details.
Yep.
And how clean this thing is. It is very contrasty because raw rust on the cab and then like gloss black, super nice paint on all this stuff, you know? And then like I notice all these little details.
Yep.
Are those you guys?
Yeah, that's us. That
yeah,
was...
all these radius gussets like in here.
Well, when you see the front, we'll tell you about a 4th of July, maybe 2021.
Yeah. Like even like the bosses and the limit strap right there, you know, and everything clears. Like those are awesome details. This fuel tank.
Yep.
Is that the original one then?
No, he had a 32 like
just
Summit Racing.
Your classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, look at the welds on that thing.
Yeah.
Dude.
So we built the tank. It's like around 95 gallons.
Yeah.
We've done another one for it, and just try to be economical but add reliability. So it has dual wall burl, like 525 pumps, like that come in the Hellcat, the factory ones.
Okay.
So they're in the tank. He doesn't have most of the time we use just a factory Corvette fuel pressure regulator, so everything's inside.
Yep.
And then the customer can't mess with it. They can't adjust the fuel pressure. They can't.
Yeah.
There's one line that goes between the tank and the engine.
Sure.
If something goes wrong, you just switch it over and turn the other fuel pump on.
Yeah. Shock mounts, everything. That's all stuff that was here. You guys redid that.
We just redid that this summer. Just recently.
How come you didn't get all the dirt off this thing?
Listen, dirt fest.
Yeah.
He got the building. That's the destroy part.
Sure. So when did you do the upgrade on the shocks?
3 weeks ago.
Okay.
So Ryan does a lot of work himself, mostly because we're overloaded and he's capable. And then it gets to a point where he runs out of talent, maybe gets sick of it.
Specialty stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thinking.
Sure.
And so he did the shock package with the new trailing arms and got the shocks 4.0s from Michael Cox and this new series of parts. And the mounts used to be down here.
Yeah, so you got all the bump travel.
To get the travel right, there's a chassis tube right here that we had to drill through because that's as high up and forward as we can get that to get good shock angles.
Yeah, and then that is your mount for the coilover in the chassis tube, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fun bolt to fish.
And there's a pocket up inside that you can only get a 12-point on the backside here because it's in a tube. It's a wild junction, a lot of internal little ribs and gussets, and
I mean that's all the joys of being a premium fabricator where you figure out solutions for problems.
Right. Yeah. So then we just tied the bump in, and the TE kit doesn't come with any of this lacing. It just comes with this one tube that is supposed to be to this tube, but Ryan put it in wrong.
Board. Okay, copy.
You can argue with him about it, but I did it right. I did it right. No, we've done several of these. It goes here on the print.
Sure. But one of the tubes, like the sections I like this middle portion that comes out.
Yep.
A lot of people don't have that, or they just run the third brake right there.
Yep.
But that's such an integral part of structure.
People don't realize how stiff the chassis has to be for the suspension to work.
Yep.
If your springs are stiff and your chassis is not, the chassis will flex.
Totally.
It's those diagonals and X's, and Ryan can attribute to it because he built an engine cage very similar to like an Izzy one he saw.
Yep.
And then he jumped it a little too big on one of the 4th of Julys and just folded it.
Yeah.
Folded it in to the engine block.
Yep. There you go.
And then we helped him redo it, and I'm like, we got to put an X here and an X here and different bracing.
Yeah.
And it's like slowly he's understood that every time we stiffen it up, it gets better.
Sure. Yeah, the
and you
rigidity.
get more confident.
Yep. You said he had a what housing?
It was TE Designs housing.
Okay, that's what I thought. And then you guys upgraded.
Yeah.
And that is your heat treated housing.
Yep,
That thing is absolutely gorgeous.
Beautiful.
We've done about 20 housings now. Probably 18 or 19 MIG welded ones and a 3.5-inch tube, and then we have done 2 of these 4-inch housings.
Yeah.
And
you do nice work, man.
thanks.
Seriously.
I mean, I got a good. It's not me. It's my team.
You've created it.
Yeah.
You've created something that produces nice stuff.
Yeah. And we're always trying to do that. This housing started out as a DIY off-road file set. And
Gotcha.
we've worked a little bit. So Frank
Manipulated
Taylor
it.
has the same one.
Yeah.
And then we have a couple others in the works.
Yeah,
But one thing that's unique about it is that we build it in 5 sub-assemblies.
Yeah, so you can treat them.
And then we treat them.
Yeah.
And then we put them together so they're as straight as we can be within maybe 20 thou when we're done.
Totally. I'm looking at your details too, like your branding on here. All these are cut out on the skid plate. This whole thing's all 3/16.
316 stainless.
Oh, that's stainless?
That was round 1 of we need more weight on the back of the
Oh,
truck.
sneaky. I tell you, with Vivian, or before Vivian was Vivian, we did much more illegitimate stuff than that. You know, I was calling getting plates of 1/2 inch.
Yeah.
Hot roll steel.
I remember seeing one time we were out at Kibby's shop and there was a Ranger there. I'm like, what is this piece of wood on the back of the truck? And it was a piece of 3/4 inch steel along this panel to add their weight.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like,
yeah. And it's so backwards for building race car stuff
Yeah.
because you want to like build stuff light and power to weight ratio, and then you're doing that just to make the thing handle. So it's really important to try to package your stuff where you can get that weight. And I know for Keith, he wants that 60/40. It's as close as it can be to 60/40.
This is
60 rear.
55.2 now.
Copy.
That's why you moved the axle forward 5 inches
Sure.
this winter. It used to have the spare tires up here,
Yeah.
and we wanted more rear weight, so we did this. We added a foot
Yeah.
and hung the tires back.
Yep.
And I remember driving it on the street after that, and I was like, wow, that is a change.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, they
I mean,
track
a big
different.
change.
Yep. I know what's going to happen because we've been standing back here, and I bet a lot of people are going to ask about what those are.
The
What are
buggers?
those? Yeah.
These are ring gear killers. These will destroy your rear end.
So, well, let's get after this really quick. I saw this we've been at Midwest Dirt Fest, and I've seen this. Scrap Guy had it on the Duramax on Danny's old car. That's a Super Swamper.
Yep, Super Swamper Bogger.
Yeah, so made by Interco,
Yep.
like your old
TSL,
school.
yeah.
Yeah, when I was
Thornburgs.
younger, the sickest shit would be like a HD 2500 on 44s with 15s maybe or 16s.
Yeah.
You know, so that starts as a Interco Super Swamper TSL.
Yep, the Bogger.
The Bogger, the heavy duty guy.
Yep.
And then you guys are shaving all that out.
There's a guy in Ohio who cuts these out, makes some cups, and takes weight out of the side.
Yeah. Okay.
Because the easiest way for us to get in and out of our dunes is to drive it.
Sure.
So if you put paddles on,
It's
you
a chore.
drive and wear it out really
Totally.
quick. You know, you might make a summer, but these are streetable. It's driving on them. It feels like the back of the truck's on ice because the sidewall is so soft. It
Okay. Does it chatter too or no?
It doesn't chatter,
No.
but I mean, the first time I took it down the road, I'm like, something's broken. Pull over. We got to check it out.
Yeah.
Like the back end is just doing this the whole time.
But that's a vibe now here that I see. How long has that been going on? Have I just been clueless to that?
Really, like a 2 summers.
Okay. Okay.
But the longevity for what we do here.
Yeah.
You come out of dunes, you want to go get lunch. You don't want to take your tires off, change it, do whatever.
Sure.
Just run into town, run back, and they work. But he ran them 2 times with the old motor and killed the pinion gear.
Totally. That's
Busted
gnarly.
the teeth
Yeah,
off.
I could see that.
It's kind of just too much traction.
Let's talk about the inside.
Okay.
So is this still our TE cage or is this modified too? Should we go to the other side?
Yeah, this is a TE cage. One thing that gets overlooked a lot when guys do these, Ryan did this his first one. Ryan has 2 kids, so they're trying to make room in the back. But
Yep.
a lot of times guys don't go to the very basics of basics when they start this.
What does that mean?
They didn't. You got to check the cab for squareness on the frame.
Oh, definitely, because they're just put on at a factory.
They're put on at a
or they're
factory.
messed with, you know.
They're messed with. You've jumped it. It's slid forward. It's moved over.
Yep.
And the problems amplify at the ends when you don't check it. So
Yeah.
he put it in. This side doors would close when he was done, and the passenger side wouldn't.
Yeah.
So he put all the
Shoot.
cage work, and eventually we came in here and cut all the stuff along the lower pontoon, trim this out, and if you look at the other side, you can see, and we pushed that whole side in about 1 inch.
Okay.
And then when we did that, we added like these rally-style taco gussets and a few things of changing the seat bar for him, just so there's more car. Like usually there's 2 car seats back here.
Yeah. Yeah, and the bench actually works. You don't see the bench too much in cars now.
No.
But man, they're there for a reason and they work. Like that's solid. That'll get your job done there. So this is some coilover doghouse, right?
Yep.
And then that's a secondary back tube.
Yep.
So you have the outside tube and the inside tube.
Yeah, those kits are, you can put just the cage kit in, or you can put the back half on.
Yep.
So there's a little bit of redundancy there.
Sure. Yeah, and then that's kind of your typical lacing.
Yeah.
Don't miss on that stuff. And then this is just your meat and potato in here, huh?
Yeah, we like to say we like factory premium plus, like as stock as it can look. You're building the exotics, we'll take the factory plus.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, the other win you get is if you don't have a cracked dash on one of the GMT 900, right? If you don't have a cracked dash, you're living, because...
Well, you guys get nuked out there.
I guess that's true.
Like every dash that comes from the West Coast is annihilated, and you can just go to the boneyard and pick them up.
Yeah, sometimes you don't even know that they're that bad, because New Mason Taylor's, I did the cage, and right as I started to clearance it, just an air saw hitting it from vibration shattered the plastic everywhere.
Yeah, like some of them, you'll just set them down too rough and they'll just disintegrate.
Exactly. So this is cool. I'm familiar with these things.
Yep.
That's your premium
hood prop.
Oh, there we go. Kind of Blue Point.
Yep.
Cool. So 4L80 looks like a 4-speed in here.
It's a 4L80 with a lot of maximum performance parts in it. But his buddy Steve builds them. That's one of the fun parts with Ryan, and as he was building it, you're telling him cut this off under the trans tunnel and do this modification to the case, and the whole time he's complaining, why are we doing this? We could just be done.
Sure.
And then last year, 4th of July, I think, he killed the tranny, and we were able to do it on the trailer. And he's like, now I see why.
Yes.
We did a tranny on the trailer while the girls were making dinner or whatever, and his weekend saved.
That sounds weird.
We did the tranny on the trailer.
That's one of those things, like I preach the buy once, cry once thing. Especially if you have the resources. Like I know a lot of guys maybe don't have the resources, so building the thing is just the only option.
Tapping them out, yeah.
But man, if you can get the right parts the first time, it's not like, sometimes you think it's overkill, but it's just because stock stuff doesn't last, and that's just how it goes.
There's just a minimum standard. And I tell, when I'm dealing with customers, I say, if I put my foot down, there's a reason.
Yep.
I'd like to be as Midwestern as the next guy and be cheap and do it as economically as you can, but at some point, you just have to spend a minimum amount of money.
Yeah. Just to get the thing
ring
right.
and pinion gears, they need to be 10-inch. There's no other option.
Yeah.
Let's push it outside. Let's wave it. Like, save the money, get it, do it right, because there's no fun. It costs you your holiday or your vacation if you go and it breaks right away.
Totally, and all the resources that you did to get there.
And you can't get that back.
Absolutely. So, I mean, if you guys can get past the mud splash, there's an awesome engine key. I haven't seen this. This is dope. So full tie-ins to the A-pillar. One of the and I can see there's more. There's another like secondary, and then there's even a door bar tie-in or something that goes into there. That's the biggest thing I think with trucks is the A-pillar tie-in to engine cage.
Right here.
Yes.
When we originally did Frank Taylor's truck, we didn't do enough in here.
It's so key.
And it would fold here, and we'd pull it back on the frame rack.
Yep.
And it's like, this just has to be laced out for it to...
And you have to think too with those. So you're hitting compression here, and you have a whole structure of your cage on the A-pillar coming down to the frame. But when this hits compression, that wants to bend up, but it's not just that bending up. It also wants to, the times that you hit evenly on your front is one thing, but you hit so many times where one compresses the other, so then your whole engine cage and your front frame rail wants to twist like this, right?
Yep.
So that's why it needs more than just one, because it needs to be completely triangulated.
Yeah, and one of the other things you can't really see here, and it doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but it's just this one little tube here. You
down to
your lower
cross
pivots.
member.
If you tie the lower pivots, when we built Frank's originally, we put in 1-inch tubes there.
Yeah.
And he folded up A-arms, he smashed the truck a handful of times.
Yeah.
And those pivots are right where they belong.
Totally.
You think about the stiffness that adds there.
Absolutely.
And it's cheap. Anybody can do it. It's not a high-skilled thing.
Yeah.
8 feet of tube and a chop saw.
Yep. Grinder. Yeah, so I like all the intersection, and then there's kind of a heavy, there's like a dual plane cross member situation, right? You have like your upper, your horizontal, and then you have kind of a vertical that's tied in.
Ryan redid this portion. It was different last year. He redid this over the winter to make some stuff more serviceable.
Sure. Okay, so it was like almost one before or something?
Well, he had, when he built it originally, there was no X in the top.
Gotcha.
He had an X in the front, and his bumps mounted a tube right off the bump right into the middle of this.
Yeah.
So then Ryan Navarro, they're Scrappy G on Instagram, they were jumping, and he went a little fast and basically landed in the face of the next one, and it shoved the shock towers into the headers on both sides.
Very nice.
Pushed this tube up.
Yep.
So
there's awesome work in here. Did you guys do this stuff?
Yep. So that was the redo. It's like you can't mount your bump in the middle of this tube. It's just going to bend.
Totally.
You got to tie it in both ways.
Yeah,
so
that would be like a dead tube style thing. Yeah.
So we put this X in. We had the frame pulled to pull the towers back to where they belong, and then did these bumps with the tie-in.
Yep.
And when we did the bumps, it still had the factory LSK tube that comes down.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the shock hoop kind of thing.
Yep. So, and if you look in there, I mean, you can see where we've cut and refabbed.
Yeah,
we get the privilege of doing a lot of refab out here.
You're not alone in that kind of stuff. That's just a thing, and I think that's kind of just being the bigger person. It's not about what was wrong or right or good or bad. It's just about finding solutions and making
finding
best.
a solution that without any we can just cut the whole front end off and keep it in the shop for a year. But there's we're here just to get them in and out and
totally
get them enjoyable.
Yeah, and then you kind of showed me under there, and I maybe want to touch on whatever's going on with the skid plate stuff under here.
People forget about the investment in the transmission and everything else, and a skid will add stiffness, but it also adds protection.
100%. Yep.
We just finished a truck for a guy named Nick Plummer, and he's like, "Why are you putting skids on it?" Like, you have a $10,000 transmission underneath there, and Silver Lake has stumps, and you guys don't pay enough attention.
Totally.
One stump through the tranny pan, and you're done.
Absolutely, and again, it just comes back to ruining your time or your trip out. And it's, that's the thing I think a lot of people sleep on is the underbelly of cars. They kind of build out the upper chassis and they build the, bumper to bumper and the cage. And then you don't figure, it's the same with the flexing on the front is the tie-ins. And I hope you guys can see that stuff. Like there's extensive tie-ins. There's even ties to the pivots here. Yeah, so that's your upper link pivot here. And then you can see all tie-in tubes, and then you can see that they're not dead tubes. All the load is being transferred. This is going through a cross member, which is a factory cross member with an overlay plate. And then that is branching back out and diving into the trans cross member, which is a factory kind of deal. Yep. But it's diving into key intersections here. So all of it is laced where it's sharing the load. I love the drive shaft tube too. That's a huge thing, guys. That can wreck your day really quick. If you pull a drive shaft and that thing does a cool, what's the term for that?
I don't know, he eats it out and spits it out.
No, like we're going to screw this up right now. That's okay.
Jump ropes, pogo stick.
Pogo stick. I'm so glad we only had to get that far because it was going to keep going, dude. It'll pogo stick you and you will do an endo just from that drive line. It's so weird, but when you're moving so fast, and if you snap a U-joint here in the front and that comes down and it digs in, it'll do stuff that will probably make you have to have a new cab on your car or make your body hurt.
The other thing with these drive shafts to know is people don't realize, like, when you take and put a higher numerical ratio rear end in like a 540 or 543 or 557, the drive shaft is spinning a lot faster at the same vehicle speed.
Yeah.
And so on these 900s, normally the carrier bearing's here.
Yeah.
But that leaves you a 2-foot section and like a 6-foot section. Well, that 6-foot section will jump rope, so it's always best to move that thing back.
Totally.
And shorten the 2 shafts so you can get the resonant frequency out of it.
Yeah.
We dealt with that a lot way back when Frank had his. One of the very first trips, I'm like, we're not going fast enough, go faster.
Yeah.
And he pedaled into it and immediately threw the drive shaft out. Immediately.
I can also see all the tie-ins for the cage through here. I'm trying to not have the light saturate, but there's some pretty extensive stuff going on here. So what you guys didn't see when you look in the cab is all the running board tube work under here. Your A-pillar too. And then there's kind of a custom body mount up there.
Yep, that comes in the TE kit.
Okay.
They got a couple that replace them. There's a couple variants of these kits now.
Gotcha.
Upgrades, improvements.
Very cool. Let's talk about steering really quick.
Okay.
You know, I know the Chevys especially, rack steering, you know, is always a thing.
Yep.
I always just try to sell a swing set, you know, with a gear,
Yep.
you know, steering gear and a ram assist if you can. But what option, like, what have you had success with? Because anybody who knows this truck, like Ryan, is no slouch on pushing the limits and going huge. And you know,
Which Ryan? Me or
I was going to say, I think we
Ryan
can...
Ryan L or Ryan L?
The Ryans are no slouch
Ryan's
on
no
driving
slouch.
this vehicle to its potential. So what's your solution for the steering?
So we call this like our mini trophy truck rack, but it's a GMT 900 based rack, and then we put a large cylinder on it the same size as like you get a Howe TT rack.
Yeah.
And then just mounted properly.
Yeah, I can see that kind of the Boss, like that clamp saddle there.
And if you take a factory rack apart, the seal set that's in it, looks like that little thing that holds your pop bottle on. I mean, it's just this little piece of plastic.
Gosh.
So this has like a DU bushing and an inner seal and a wiper cap and all the right pieces to seal and support that shaft. This is, I think, a P pump.
Okay.
Like your factory style Howe pump. And it's super critical to use AC Delco or Swepco 715 in these things to keep the racks together. It really matters.
Yeah. I don't know if we can even see a pump in there. It might be a little busy.
It's just this. I mean, it looks like nothing.
Oh, copy.
It's just a regular old...
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like a big trophy truck pump or anything.
No.
And it works.
And yeah, you just got to get... On Frank says, you know, we use him for a lot of R&D. He's our R&D guy.
Yep.
And he probably should get a royalty. But he isn't. Put the biggest reservoir you can on. You have the most fluid to keep it cool. And when we ordered one from Howe, he's like, why do you need this bigger reservoir? You have a standard this and that. If it starts leaking, it can leak for longer.
Yeah.
We want to get to the end of the day.
Absolutely. So do you do anything to make the steering quicker?
This is just factory speed on this one.
Okay. And
it's factory ratio, just big assist. So when you make that assist cylinder larger, the line pressures go down.
Yeah, copy.
And this, I mean, this is a one-hand steering.
And then the lighting package. Did you guys just do the BAW designs, or how long have you been running these?
2 years ago for Glamis.
Okay. And that's a LP6
it's
down
6s
here.
and 9s.
Yep. And I like that you kept round lights.
Yeah.
I think that's the most modern, optimal choice you can do for running a round light, you know?
Yeah, they're bright. They're bright AF. I mean, them things are so bright.
Yeah.
You really only need one or two.
Yeah, that's a lot of light. And what's cool about those too is you have that option where they can run auxiliary. Yep. Like, so even if the car's on, the side marker lights can come on almost like an old cop car.
Yep.
You know, where there's exactly.
It just adds that completeness to it.
Sure.
You turn the key on, you got the marker lights on the front and back.
Yep.
And on the big lights.
Yep.
The other part people don't realize is like you can identify your buddy from a distance.
So what's the next steps for this thing? Is it kind of just like, is it dialed right now? And then is it just on that kind of regimen of when something breaks, you fix it?
Yeah, probably. I mean, Lister's one of those guys who'll dream up some stuff to do to it.
Yeah.
Unnecessarily. But the shots will be coming. We got to do some more street driving and tuning on that motor.
Yeah.
It went from E85 last year.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons we went with the big tank.
Okay.
He burns through 85.
Yeah, that's kind of the gamble. It's cheaper, but you burn through so much more of it.
It's fast.
It is, yep. And I guess we didn't cover the powetrain. So what's powertrain in here?
Somewhere around a 408 cubic inch LS, mid compression, Maruzzi race cam, a set of ported heads that are LS3 style, but somebody poured them so big that the valve cover bolts have to be sealed when you put them in. The ports are huge.
Yep.
Fast, Nick Williams 103. I mean, just a basic 408 LS.
Yep. Is it originally a Maruzzi motor?
No.
It's just his cam?
It was it's his engine guy that doesn't build off-road engines.
Yeah.
It's had a bunch of hands in it, so
okay.
A buddy of ours just piston slapped it more or less
this
winter to bring the compression down. It used to be like almost 14 to 1.
Okay.
But the Maruzi race cam is a good cam.
Absolutely. Badass. Well, it's not going to get a center mount, is it?
No.
Okay.
He needs to go on to the next truck.
Okay, copy.
Like, get this done. Your kids are going to get bigger. You're going to need 2 more doors on the back.
Sure. And I think that's it for this one. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to comment below. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you, Ryan.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Later.
Later.